Eric, you're gonna stay at that desk and.
Because I have to plug it in, so it's easier.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Everybody, welcome to the open space meeting of May. As Dave Morrow is on the video, well, first off, we do have a quorum of 5 members present. As Dave is on the video, we'll have to do voice roll call for any votes that come up. So first off, we'll do exactly that. I need a rapporteur. Thank you very much. Introductions and roll call. So absent today are Kate Parsons, Adrian Sweet, and Tom Rovis here, and Dave Sargent here, Dave Morrow here. Richard Quaitman is also not here. Mark Coulin here. Chris Leahy here. And I'm your Dan Morris. So we have 5 members present and we do have a quorum. So we'll proceed with the meeting. First order of business is approval of minutes from the April 22nd meeting. They were provided by Adrian a few days ago. Entertain a motion to accept them or discuss?
Well, motion to discuss, I guess. Okay. I provided feedback to her just to correct the spelling of the 2 counselors' names. That was it. It was just a misspelling of the Counselor Gilman and Counselor Worthley. So that was it, just to spell check the names. And she said thanks, but so just make sure, we just need to make sure the final copy gets posted. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
So
Can we approve it as amended?
yes.
Yeah, there's just typo. It's not a subject matter.
I make a motion to approve it as amended.
Oh, wait, we'll see if they're on there. Oh no, see, it's Gilman with 2 L's is still on there, so.
Where is that again?
Right, you just had it, right, D.
D. All right, yeah, okay. Yeah, Worthley and Gilman. All right.
Just 1 less L and an E on Worthley. And then times how many times you may have wrote that.
Okay. All right. Are you in an editable document right now?
This
No.
is
Oh,
not,
you're in mail.
but I can,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Easy fix.
Dave Sargent moved to approve the minutes as amended with the correct spelling of the council members. Is there a second?
Second.
Mark, thank you very much. All in favor of approving the April 22nd minutes as amended with the correct spelling of Councilor Gilman and Worthley's names, please indicate by saying aye.
I think it needs to be roll call.
Everything's over there.
Dave Sargent,
Yes.
Dave Morrow,
Yes.
Mark Coulin,
Yes.
Chris Leahy,
Yes.
and Dan Morris, yes. Thank you. Updates on membership, staff support, and issues related to the processes of the committee. Eric, is there any news in that corner of things?
I don't know. Right now, no.
We have full membership.
Mhm.
And I imagine with the summer coming, perhaps more travel, people will have more meetings like this where we're just barely at quorum. Okay, next order of business, update from the Osrc rep to the Community Preservation Committee. And so Kate is not here, but Eric has perhaps some news related to, well, I have a report from Kate, maybe, but Eric and Mark may have some information as well. Should I proceed first? And since I have a text or an email from her, I can just read it.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Osrc update on the CPC. The CPC is aware of the issues that committee site visits potentially pose, the issues posed by committee site visits due to the open meetings law that the Osrc discussed last month. So the CPC is aware of the things that we were discussing. Regarding East Gloucester open space and CPC funding, there was confusion over the budget included in the $3 million application, which mentioned a $6 million loan. Marianne Boucher was present. She was online and spoke to helpfully clarify much of the funding history as well as its present state. CPC will be reaching out to Eric Hinderly for clarification. Okay, let's see, after reading the undated OSRC memo from Dan Morris, OSRC Chair, to the Planning Director, Greg Cadamatore, submitted as part of the funding application, the CPC Vice Chair expressed concern over the prioritization of the EGOS for the project for the open space. He expressed that he assumed it would be a top priority for the OSRC. I noted that while OSRC has several priorities, the EGOS was certainly one of them. He also mentioned that EGOS was on the agenda for tonight's 5:20 OSRC meeting, but I checked and noted that it was not. I explained that it had been a running item for the OSRC for some time, but that changed when new events were occurring. I noted that it might be added as a running item again as activity was resumed. He said he either had reached out to Eric regarding his question about priority or that he would do so. Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense to you, Eric?
Yes, I did not see the meeting from yesterday. I did, from what I understand, there's a section in the application about funding for the record. Yeah. Hi, Richard. So I included the loan order, the gross loan order amount from 2020.
Okay.
I did not break down in the application all that money funded, but for the demolition abatement piece, it was, there's $2 million that's working on that part now that was increased in the fall. The mayor appeared before the city council to request it. It was approved. So it could have been my fault for kind of confusing where that, because I put in the loan orders dated from 2020, because that's when this project kind of went through. But that is the source of funding that we're working with right now. And that's what I understood that question to be. But as far as the project goes, it was broken down, everything was broken down. There is a line item of contingencies because you kind of don't know what will happen. That's a pretty big chunk of it, but it does come up to $3 million overall. We're requesting a bonding scenario over 10 years, $300,000 per year. It's a big ask. It would be the entire total dedicated to open space over those 10 years. You can increase those. You could, the set rate I think it would eat up what is dedicated in CPA funds for open space, but those can fluctuate if you do less of the historical preservation or I know there were several years where there weren't any open space applications, so that's sort of why the city looked into that. And also it's just, in terms of the prioritization letter, I did write in the application that the Open Space Committee held under the auspices some of the meetings, but it wasn't really the final letter was what activities the Open Space Committee heard from the public, what they would like to see, they would like prioritized. I think Kate's suggestion of the native plantings, making sure the basketball hoop was included in there, but it did indicate that it was supported by the Open Space Committee, but it wasn't because it was a public forum, it wasn't really, the Open Space Committee per se, their plan to do this. It was more like these forums were held under the auspices of the Open Space Committee, and then this was the letter prior to the final forum of what the Open Space Committee would like. There is a support letter from the mayor in there, and I sort of thought that would be kind of the public support as well, in addition to the public forums and the described activities, as well as the Open Space Committee letter, but maybe that needs to be clarified with the liaison of CPC.
So
That was a lot.
may I
So-
recap?
Yeah.
So I think I understand that the application included a quote of the, or a statement about the overall funding under the debt extension or the loan
The loan,
authorization.
right?
And that included monies that are not available for the build out.
Right.
And the request is for funding to support the build out.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is that under the CPC, there's a requirement to spend, an amount in each of the different categories.
10%.
This would satisfy that amount for open space for the next 10 years. It's not to say more can't be spent, but the first X amount to repay this fund would go, and that would cover the 10% almost always.
Mhm.
Okay, and then the third part is asking, does the open space committee endorse this? Is that what it's getting at, or?
I think the question in the application is what boards or commissions support this project, and I included the letter to the planning director prior to the last forum because it was on letterhead open space. It did say like this is a good project,
Yep.
we're supportive.
Okay.
This is what we'd like to see, but maybe they wanted more of like the open space committee. This is a top priority, but we
We're looking
have
for a priority statement from us.
right. So
We support the project as described in option 2 or whatever,
right.
which was held in the open forum. We definitely support the project. I think the CPC is looking for how much we support it, or is this a top priority for us?
Right.
And that's, I think that ask is, I'm just trying to process that ask in a second, because they're pointing out that, yeah, right, that may impact future asks that may come in front of CPC, not every open space project. It'd be only the ones that go in front of CPC. And if you look at historically, a lot of the open space ones aren't, they're considered open space, but they're not open space inventory, right? The library is open space, but the YMCA is open space, right? But those aren't in part of our inventory. So they're asking, is this a priority project for us? I don't know how we as a group want to answer that.
Can we say that we support the application?
I imagine so. I mean, this is, we will have a presentation. There's another meeting in June, July, and August, and I will have to give a presentation to the CPC, so I guess that would be where the Open Space Committee could develop a statement. I'll clarify with the liaison of the CPC what they're actually looking for, or if it is sufficient. I think it was saying, this is a supported project. I mean, Max Parsons Playground is in the inventory.
Everything about it
East Blackwell Field.
It's
right.
just that, do we support if we support the funding component of it,
Right.
that's not really in our, the CPC is there to decide how much they want to put into it and tie up the money. And they're letting us know that if they do that some other project may come along and they might, first thing they're gonna look at is, well, let's just not even worry about that for 10 years, or we're really gonna have to move some money around if this 3 years of priority project comes up. So
That's what concerns me, is if something suddenly comes up in the intervening 10-year period, great importance, it has to be acted on quickly.
well, then it would be an off cycle, and off cycles can use, right, if it was an off cycle project, and CPC can do what's called an off cycle. If roofs are caving in, or a piece of property is under threat of development, or something where it's time, you can apply for an off cycle. And they can sort of find the money from the other pools if they choose to. Right, if they choose to. So how much we should say we think that it should be fully funded? I don't know. Should we even be saying that?
I don't know that we can opine, something that is, hey, I mean, we can express a support for this, but I don't know how we could anticipate what other applications would be coming to the CPC in the next 10 years and say, this is better than those. Right? We're not going to.
And that's the word priority. Right?
At present, this is a good thing.
Right.
So, Eric, do you think, so the CPC meets before we do. Do you think that we need a positive statement at the June meeting? And if so, we need to come out of this meeting with that.
It wouldn't hurt, but I'm not sure. I don't know how, like, if it's an absolutely necessary thing to do or not. It would, I mean, you guys spent a lot of time with hosting those forums and going over the designs. You know, we had a meeting in December of or maybe it was 2023, where that was the entire meeting was really looking at the East Gloucester open space and what people said. And so I don't think it would be, I wouldn't want you guys to say like, this is the top priority, you know, because there's other priorities that we're looking at. And I don't know if you guys think it's more priority than others. I don't really think it's that way, but, so I don't really know what to say to that question. Like, I don't think it would hurt. Like, you guys are supportive of it. Like,
A letter,
Jay Morrow,
a general letter of support, right?
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions. First of all, CPC funding for open space, are we like the gatekeepers for that? Or would there be anybody applying for open space grants from the CDC besides us in the next 10 years?
we're turning down.
Just turning the volume
Your
down.
volume, your team is a little high.
yeah, speak now.
Yes, hello? How's that sound?
Too low.
Hello.
Are you?
Testing, 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 testing.
There's a sweet spot. Sorry.
Okay, sorry about the distortion. I guess I was wondering if other people would be applying for open space grants from the CPC besides us over the next 10 years, or is it just going to be us?
No, it will certainly be others.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. I mean, it's always been.
Well, we're not even the
You know,
ones
Spindrift is applied, and you know, it's not really. Nobody really goes through OSRC first to apply for.
Okay, so
We're not applying. We're not an applicant.
Right.
right, so I'm not sure then how we figure into the approval of this, the finances of it, if we're not, if it isn't our job to approve them. I mean, my confusion.
Just in the support, is this, oftentimes in CPC, they'll get letters of support.
Yeah.
And the more letters of support just help make that decision, you know, it informs them of the decision.
And was I right in that if we approve this grant, and we, you know, if they do decide to do the 300,000 a year, we could still apply for other things beyond that? Is that should the whole lot, or is there a possibility of doing further things on top of that? Open space grants from the CP.
Dave, you were a little garbled, but let me try. I think what you're asking is, does this preclude applications in the next 10 years?
Yes.
And the answer would be no. There could still be other open space applications that would, you know, this would be the first cut of funds because it's a 10-year obligation. But yes, there could be applications for open space, other open space grants.
But it commits the CPC to 300,000 a year for 10 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't see the downside of us supporting this.
What is the downside?
Someone really.
There. I guess there isn't one.
There isn't.
Carpal tunnel.
Carpal tunnel. Yes. Right in the letter. There isn't a. Sorry to keep. Forgive me if I'm talking too much here, but it's there. From what I understand, again, it wasn't an open space recreation committee project, right? They're just, it just seems like they want that endorsement from a citizen-led committee. I included the letter that was sent. I thought that that would be satisfactory, but I guess it wasn't like, it wasn't worded in a way that's like, we, you know, are 100% behind this project. It was more like, this is a project we support, this is what we'd like to see
Yeah.
based on the public feedback. But I guess that wasn't really a,
So we have not
Thing,
made
right.
a statement
A statement,
after the
yeah.
application or specific to the application.
right,
We made a statement about the layout of the final design.
yes,
Right. And our intentions-
Which supported a final design with some particular details.
Mhm.
And so that was very positive, but we don't have, and that's, so supporting East Gloucester open space in that particular design is one thing. Supporting this application and the implications of it is, I think the CPC is saying, that's quite another. Because it's the implications of it that may constrain future open space expenditures.
right.
Does that capture it?
Yes, well, yes.
Okay, so,
I think I need to clear this up with CPC.
okay,
Again, I think my presentation, June is going to be crazy in Gloucester. It's the Bunker Hill reenactment fiesta, and like I think the CPC meeting is right before that. So I think there's two other meetings where applicants present, and I'm pitching for like July.
They haven't started
August.
putting the dollars in little buckets
No.
yet. That's
Not
usually
yet.
for step one is
I'm wondering what the harm is, it just being very simple to say that Open Space and Recreation Committee supports this application. Period. And just have that.
Two, 3 sentences. That's
Right.
Now, should something change, and this is where I wanted to, so should the CPC, as the process goes down, say that they can't fund it, they don't want to fund it all,
Right.
and if that results in some kind of a scope change, then I think that's a different story,
um,
right?
I will.
We're not there yet.
Okay, we have another agenda item 2E, to report to the chair's meeting with the DPW director. And the design, and boy, how to discuss. Someone who, you know, a civil or professional engineer who's looking at this park sees dollars, you know, on the different appliances and installations and plantings. And I think that Mike Hale has some concerns about the initial outlay as well as the future expenses of maintenance. And so this was a point of discussion. I'm moving this, I'm opening item 2E, a portion of 2E, and then we're going to come back to this later, but I felt it's relevant to this, so I want to talk about it. And I think this is so Mike Hale was saying that there may necessarily be some changes to the design. And he was talking about the playground equipment, some of the layout, and you know, kind of what they can do in the construction in this. I expressed concern about that and said that this was a publicly developed process. It has the endorsement and the support of the Open Space Committee, and we'd like to see the plan implemented. And that's kind of how the conversation ended. So my sense is that at this point, you have the conversation really needs to be between community development and open space, or the planning division, the planning division and DPW. Because the planning division invested rather heavily in having this consultant develop a particular design and engaged the public and developed public expectations of how this might come out. And it was rolled out with some fanfare and reported in the Gloucester Daily Times, as well as on, you know, other venues, that here's a particular plan that was the product of these public deliberations, and it's you know, not everybody's happy with it, but it was decided with the support of these well-paid consultants. And so my sense is that community development needs to go back to Mike Hale and say, we spent this money, you know, and it's for the city to sort out how they're going to proceed, you know, and who has standing in terms of what plan goes forward.
That's the follow-up question. Does the DPW even have any ability to change the design because of their budget? This is a separate budget item. And it would seem that it's way overstepping their authority to design.
Right, it's been less than.
I based on what I've learned in these meetings, their responsibility is exceedingly far-reaching. It gets into absolutely every inch of public property. And so I think it would be a disputable point that this is not within their authority.
But to make design changes is very significant and costly.
Well,
It's costing you more.
only if it involves a consultant.
Well, if you change, you know, play equipment structure A for play equipment structure B, because it costs $10,000 less, and then you get the outrage from the community said you were promised A,
Yes,
that has to be considered.
I totally agree with you, and that's why I think it's something for community development and the planning division who led and stood by this process and helped, you know, sent it in Gloucester Times into the city. We have a plan.
And I would suggest if we do a letter of support that says it supports the implementation of the design as presented. Then we don't-
Because that's the design that we submitted was
Yeah,
the one that Weston and Sampson came
option
came
two.
up with. Yeah.
So this is a subject that the mayor is interested in, that DPW has been asked to weigh in or asserted itself to weigh in. I'm unclear on that particular point, but you know, Mike had some, he would call, I believe, and I don't speak for him, but I would characterize how he presented it as practical and cost matters to be, you know, he had some suggested changes. All of them were specified in our conversation. The playground equipment was mentioned as one that might be adjusted. And you know, I raised my concerns with that. But I think the real, I think it's outside of our scope now. To my sense, it's between community development, DPW, and the mayor, and for them to face the city and say, this is how we're proceeding, whether it's with the plan or without the plan.
And that circles back to CPC. How can we even support anything yet until we know what design is gonna be?
Right.
So I guess how I would proceed is, or maybe the best course of action, I don't know, but would probably be to wait on an endorsement letter until, one of the concerns is like the costs. You know, the loan order was raised by $2 million just to, and that's not even, we're not even at the open space part of it, right? So the cost just like skyrocketed, we all know this. And I think that's one of the concerns is how expensive is that playground going to be with everything new? Or can you use some of the existing, that was mentioned in, but then the activity suggested is this new playground. So you're right, like if it is the design that we submitted was that final Weston Sampson design. If you want to hold on to endorsing it, it should be as close, or that's what it sounded like you guys were saying. It's, you wanted to adhere to that original design as much as possible. And maybe the endorsement letter doesn't come until that's what it is right now, is that original design. That's what we put in. The cost is like through, you know, the line items are, that's what the consultants broke out to us.
I will break out a separate point of what you just said. So I don't think there's a risk of the the plan being abandoned to the point of maintaining the current playground only.
Right, no,
But
there's gonna be a.
in an interim period, the build out, the funding will not come through for months. The
Mhm.
build out would not begin until 2026.
Yeah,
So there is the idea of keeping the current
that's
playground.
That's gonna
equipment-
stay, yes.
The playground equipment in place while we're waiting for the funding and the build out to, the funding to come and the build out to begin. In the meantime, there are communications, apparently, Michael is talking to the neighbors, but, you know, anyway, my opinion, and tell me differently, or you can suggest a different action, is that this is a matter for, you know, Eric to bring back to Greg Calatori and Alex Coppin, and urge them to engage with the mayor and Michael, and to talk fully about, you know, the process that went into it and what's to be lost in terms of the trust of the community and the effort of the community to develop this if the plan is significantly altered.
And present it to us in some format, you know, bring it here,
Mhm.
just keep us in the loop, I think, is what,
Right,
we want to be kept in the loop.
But we also want to be kept in the loop if that conversation never occurs. We'd like to know.
yes, right. Mhm.
Because I really think it's an important conversation to have. And if we wanted a motion around this, we could ask that, you know, you could ask that I send a motion or a memo or a email to Eric and Greg and Alex to urge this conversation. Or we can just, you know, trust that Eric will carry the message, which I'll.
Yeah, he's the applicant too.
All right, all right. So we'll trust Eric to carry that message up the chain. If you need something from us to urge it along,
Mhm.
to let us know, we can perhaps do that.
Okay,
So I will, I don't know, pause item 2E and come back to our CPC update. Is there any more on that topic? Okay, so Eric, just to summarize, Eric, you're going to talk to the CPC about what they're looking for from this committee.
Mhm.
But, and on the other agenda item, it's sort of been tabled, you'll talk to Greg and or Alex about what's to be done. And we'd like to be kept up to date on that. Is that fair?
yeah.
Okay.
There is something related to this agenda item that Kate touched on about the site visit.
Oh, right.
Site visits are exempt from open meeting laws as long as you're not deliberating on, you know, you're not talking like at length about every detail. There's some clarifying questions you can ask, but generally it's, you know, we walk around the site. I mean, the school is completely gone now, right? There's like a little hole in the ground, a small one that I think it's become bigger, but and you can see the playground in the back. I drove by today, but it's kind of impressive how, you know, the structure that's been there for so long is just gone. But I'll have to reach out to Mike and Mike Hale and the consultants about organizing a site visit. I'm not sure if it's safe right now. It's an active construction site, but I'm not sure if there's volunteers, if any of you want to be on that site visit. I don't have a date yet or when it's going to happen, but I would encourage it. You would be with the CPC and a representative group of you guys.
I think it would be nice to have it. I think we can have two members
Mhm.
there and not invoke any open meeting.
Right.
And-
Oh, it's exempt, we can't.
Oh, right.
It is exempt, yeah.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
good point. But you can only say, oh, look, a squirrel. You can't say, here's our mammal plan.
Right.
So I think the swing set should be here.
Yeah.
You can't say this, though, as I understand it, that's where this goes and that's where this
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. You
Just
can
seeking
check.
clarification.
Okay, good point. Thank you, Richard. All right. So, yeah, please let us know when that shapes up.
So yeah, we'll make that happen.
So if we're not limited by number, if you just tell us when it is, any of us can show up.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
There is a member of the public that's raised their hand several times. Are you okay? Because it's not a public hearing, public forum. That's
We're going to proceed.
okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you for that conversation. I think we have a couple of action items, mostly for Eric. All right. Pickleball update. Mark, you want to take this one?
Well, I want to defer to, I want to defer to Eric a little bit on a conversation that he may have had, but where I left it with Larry Maver last time is that we had, in last month, we had presented the 16 down to 6, and we really kind of stopped there. And then we had a meeting, an offline meeting to sort of decide how to present, bring it to this table, but we really didn't get that far. We got to some more.
And I was at that meeting.
Yeah, and Dan was at the meeting, and then I think at that meeting, we wanted to bring Fisherman Youth Soccer to the table and have just one more offline meeting with them. And so we deferred coming back to this month with, hey, well, how do we deliberate this or talk? Let's go do the Fisherman Youth Soccer, and that's where we left it. And I think as a little sidebar, I went and I changed the spreadsheet, which we haven't seen, but I just added one more attribute line. And I forget, there was some attribute line that I think it had to do with sort of curb appeal-ish.
Yes, it was.
What does it do with the curb appeal or the appearance? Where everything else was sort of like the traffic, security was all sort of, but it's subjective at best, but it's sort of a curb appeal thing.
Right.
What does it do with the appearance of the park or things like that? So that was the only attribute that has been added and not presented to everybody. Then there was this, we tried to get the Fisherman Youth Soccer.
Yeah. Right. I do not have an update on this. The meeting, I was not able to go to the meeting on Friday. I think it was like a packed agenda and it didn't come up. So I have to double back and see. I think.
What was the purpose of that meeting?
Is to see if Magnolia Woods can, if there's a pathway there.
Okay.
So that's it. And then like in before involving Fisherman Youth Soccer, I really want to see like if there is
So I think I can explain. So you narrow it down to, a few, and before really digging in, first off, not everyone's going to like all of the sites. So there's going to be someone who doesn't like any particular site.
Okay.
And so the committee will not be able to make a recommendation of this, and everyone loves it. That line will not be used.
True.
So before investing in kind of the final phase of figuring this out, Eric was going to the mayor's office to ask, are there any of these that are non-starters? Because if they're non-starters, why should we beat ourselves up?
Take them off the list.
Right. And if you as the mayor and, through your executive sense of the city and what will fly and will not fly, take it off the list so that we don't, spend a lot of time working on it, deliberating it, dealing with, the public or not dealing with it, but engaging with the public in a way that uses our time and energy if it's off the table.
I can imagine trying to deliberate on like 6 different sites in a meeting, and that's a lot.
Or if we're coming up with, we narrow it down to 1 and then it goes to the mayor and says off the table. Let's remove that.
Right, yeah.
When we're at a set of 5, so that we still have some to work on. But we may not get an answer to that question.
We will, definitely by the next meeting, hopefully before then,
Yeah.
there will be an answer. And I apologize for not having it today, but
Do you,
yeah.
do you get a sense if something gets taken off the table, will you
I'm
tell us?
thinking, yes,
Well,
and you know, I can't really, I don't have like the final say on things, so I'm not gonna say it, but I do think there is a site that's probably like totally off the table.
But right now, I can appreciate that it's been hard to get a meeting in that there's been a transition at the chief of staff level, you know, and
That was on vacation right after our
and
meeting.
it's budget season and
The schedule.
and just
So,
personnel,
yeah,
you know, personal needs. So
right.
it's forgivable, but it's slipped. But hopefully by the next meeting we'll have that sorted.
Right, but the work that you guys have done on this and it is meaningful, and it's actually been helpful just to see like what these sites can do and like how accessible they are. It's been interesting to see. So it's not, but I will have a pretty solid. I'll make it a priority to like get this resolved to bring back to you guys by the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Scribbling some notes, I'll get to the next item in just a moment. I will just add that Larry Maver is very eager and he's been very persistent, and it's been going on for a while. I wouldn't say I don't think he's discouraged, but I think he is entitled to be impatient.
It's been 3 years.
I think he wants a decision.
Right.
We want to cut to the chase and so we can either execute or not. Yeah, I know how he feels on that.
Okay. All right, anything else on this topic? All right. Okay, Dogtown and open space, delineations. Chris, do you have anything to?
I don't, in particular, again, I'll defer to Eric.
Well,
The action items were, you know, from the last meet.
Well, at some point, you
We have to do it.
had what seemed to be a very positive conversation with 4 department heads.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in hearing any updates there. I'm more than willing to participate in any of that if that would be useful, you know, anytime. So, you know, I'm eager that their enthusiasm level be maintained.
Right.
I mean, because their enthusiasm could easily go elsewhere. But we could get, and so the action item there is the survey.
Yep. And how come we can't get on this? So we was it earlier this week? We're Tuesday, geez. Last week, a survey, we're going for it. We got to figure out how much it's going to cost. It's probably going to be complex. I mean, the perimeter is like 3.3 miles. It's 436 acres with a lot of ancient deeds in there. Like we do have an idea, but we've talked about this a lot, but you know, they could be off by a little bit. It's referencing things like trees that don't exist, etc. So you do need like a very complex survey team, probably land use folks that can really research into the deeds, and then multiple surveyors at a time, right? Because you have to be shooting lasers through these things, and it isn't as clear cut as like, I don't want to say clear cut, but Poles Hill is just a lot. When you're talking about actual surveys, like it was a lot easier than this is going to be. Right. I don't know, the cost might be pretty large, but it's sounding more and more like this is a priority that like, we don't want to kick this down the road. I don't want to say it like that, but like keep this going for another 20 years. So we have put some feelers out to engineering firms and trying to get a scope nailed down. We should know that figure in the next few weeks. I could,
Is there a reason that I suggested this surveyor who's done a lot of work with environmental groups,
Okay.
MECT and things like that?
you should send that our,
What's that?
you could send that our way just to see, like,
Yeah.
if they could, if this is something
Yeah.
out there, we'll have.
Obviously, it's the surveying company that Jim McDougal's worked with or whatever, so he kind of knows the territory kind of, he's not just a civil surveyor that doesn't know what he's getting into. This guy will get it and probably even has background on, Dogtown, notes in place and stuff, so I'll just forward that information to you. I've got all his essential facts.
Right.
Okay,
So
then
that's where we are, and it is for that, for those woodlots. So it's
Yes,
very,
sure.
it's because it's actually very helpful. The BAPS indeed is so well marked out that you can just kind of move up from there.
Right.
And then the self-help takings that we took is also clearly defined. And I think Goose Cove is, it abuts those woodlots, and that's very clearly defined. So
Yeah.
that's really good to
Yes.
start.
Yes, and yes, there's a lot of good definition
Yeah.
that we're trying to clarify more. The other thing that I think is likely to come up here is the entire perimeter question. Not that we're gonna necessarily resolve that one in this round, but that obviously just looking at the map and it's gonna come up, and I think it's good to have that on the agenda, so to speak. Like, what is Dogtown?
Right, so as we're having this conversation about this particular step, let's call it a step instead of a project.
Mhm.
And kind of in your conversations, Eric, and our conversations with the public or with city officials, try to keep repeating the idea that this survey and the funding that's needed for it is a very important first step. But then we've got the broader perimeter, and then we've got the title searches further north and so on. So
West Gloucester eventually, I think, but for Dogtown specifically, yeah.
Yes, both, but both, yeah. That's-
And I think there are a lot of people out there who are potential funders who understand the process at some level, that there are steps here, so. Yeah, I think it's a very good approach.
Well, I think that once the city kind of forms its posture around this and kind of a project definition a little bit, perhaps there will be an opportunity for engagement with, appropriate NGOs who might have some resources they can bring to bear. Does that sound reasonable, Eric?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this is, a step, but it's a clear, it's good that this is like a clear place to start.
Well defined.
Well defined. I mean, maybe we'll see what happens,
Well-
but yeah, it's happening, so.
Do you need anything from the committee?
As of right now, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Again, don't hesitate if there's.
Right.
because it's in the semi-annual report,
Yep.
and it's been in the annual report and then the goals, so like you guys have clearly shown like what a priority this is, so.
Well, I think the semi-annual report has a statement endorsing
The delineations.
the
The
delineations. And I will come back to the topic of East Gloucester later on and reference the semi-annual report.
I guess I should also add that Greenbelt is involved in some way, I think, in a kind of exploratory way. They're very hesitant to get too deeply involved because of our friend that they got in trouble with a while back. But they are interested, they haven't lost interest in Dogtown. I think Jim McDougal's going to their meetings, so.
And they own abutting properties.
What's that?
They do.
Yeah.
They have
And
CRs in it.
their part-timer, Jim Cabo, has some very helpful experience too.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, in this particular project, they're not involved at all. They do have some properties within that perimeter though. So I don't know what that means.
But we need to keep,
but,
you know,
yeah,
horizon what they're doing, so that we
Right.
don't get into some
Right.
mishmash or something.
Yeah, sure. Right, anything else on this topic? Very good. Access and signage at open space properties and trailheads. I will turn this over to Mark, but I just wanted to indicate how happy I am about this semi-annual report. It went out to the council members and we heard from them. And one that we heard from was Council President Tony Gross, who said, "Hey, what about this?"
Right.
And so I was delighted people are listening to that. So I think our investment in that little product serves us as a pretty good communication tool that people are attending to. It's great.
So with that, in hindsight, I think we learned a little lesson in this exercise about sort of how to approach the problem. And we approached it based on some information given to us as to about the signage ordinance, section 15, and 15-30 or something like that. And it was like, okay, that's where you need to go fix. And so we, spent months of kind of deliberating over it and getting the language right, and it sort of stalled, and we finally, and then Dan finally polished it off, and we all said yes to it. And we, sent it up to the city, reminded them again in the semi-annual report, and then Councilor Gross looked at it and said, "Great idea, wrong, like this is where you want to fix the problem." And so fixing it in section 2, which is our ordinance for the open space committee, and putting it in there in a broader language that says that we have the sort of, it's in our purview to make a recommendation for on use and things with respect to trails and usage and signage and things like that. So it sort of placed it in an area, and I think we also took out something that made it sort of allow it to be broad. So, and add to that.
Yeah, well, Mark had several rounds of communication with Tony, and several iterations of how best to adjust the GCO. And ultimately, one approach was to add specified properties on that list in, was it 15B or yeah, so, and then we said, but one interesting point was he read our semi-annual plan, and so one of the places he added as Dogtown as to be delineated under a project reference to, so it's a nice sort of left-handed endorsement of that particular one, but I digress. But you're never going to name all the properties. If you look at our inventory, there are vast numbers of properties, and many of them are not named, and there are trails on them that we might want to have signage about or on. So we got away from that approach and just kind of put it in a general task for this committee.
But what I think Councilor Gross picked up on was that other section falls under a larger section of Parks and Recreation, and that didn't really want to amend something that is sort of that whole section needs to be rewritten. And so why fix one? Why we could have fixed it there, but then I think it would have brought attention to the whole area. Doesn't seem to make sense, and because there's no Parks and Recs Commission.
Isn't there in the proposed budget? Isn't there Parks and Rec money for a new division or a person?
No, not in this. So I didn't. You mean this year's? But I didn't read all the pages. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, again, that was something like this whole area, this whole section needs to be kind of rewritten. Let's not bother fixing one little piece of it. So just fix it over here instead. And it solved. It accomplished what we all wanted to accomplish.
So we acted on that?
Well, that's why. Where is it?
With legal reviews it, and then it will be, whenever that review is done, I don't know where in that process now, but it was referred out to the city clerk and now reviewed by legal, and then it'll appear on the council. So it goes to the city council, they refer to O&A, and then O&A votes on it. I don't know how that will really work, whether it's if it's one of the city staff, if it's me talking about it, or if it's or it might just be they look at Councilor Gross's order and he discusses it, I'm not quite sure. I think the Quad
So
Cities
you don't
have
think they
state,
need any further support on it, it's just gonna run through?
I think so, because it's important, it's been referenced, it's,
Yeah,
you know,
it's not like.
he looked at-
official support, right?
right, and it was the bullet points in that report that you guys provided and agreed on, that it was just like, let's simplify this. I do have the language.
Yeah, it wouldn't be worth putting that up, because
Right.
we did approve language that is now not the language, so. But,
Greater minds retreat.
yeah, it's creative, yeah, so, just like when when the Senate gets the bill after the House, right? They get to play around with it. Yeah, there's
Well,
the,
that's really good, actually.
So this is all in there already.
and it's add,
Custodian advise, recommend. Rules, guidelines for safe, responsible use of list of properties in the current open space recreation plan. So that's, instead of everything that's like listed in, the code of ordinances, this is kind of like the reference point. So that could be Marble Road, that could be these places to recommend,
right,
signage at trailheads, all of that.
right, and he didn't wanna put 2022 in there because he didn't wanna have to keep changing it every
Right.
time, every 7 years. So he took out 2022 and just put in the current.
And again, you know, it's keeping it consistent with the advisory role, right? But
Shouldn't it,
this is the new language that added.
but specifically lacking is the word signs or interpret. Maps and guides is very different than recommending placement of actual signs.
Printed publication and
Trail-
this
trail
website.
lights.
Hmm.
That's a big miss.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily a miss or that I think signs is I think it's okay. Like I don't think it's a miss.
So,
I think it's we're gonna make recommendations and it's gonna go either through DPW or something like that. It's just gonna be small little fixes here and there.
But as a former one who wrote regulations for years, the lack of the word signage, which should just be put in maps, guides, signage, educational materials, would make a big difference. It explicitly allows us to recommend a design.
What is a guide in this context?
To me, a guide is a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, but is that the intention? I was wondering whether that was supposed to stand for signs, for sign.
But I think it was in placing signs at trailheads, at
No.
trail junctions.
Hmm.
very good point.
It looks like our original idea has been watered down twice. One is now the city isn't like supposed to put signs at their open space, but we can suggest it, which is like nothing really, because they ignore our suggestions all the time. And the other, taking the signs out, is another watered down. I think that they just dumped our suggestion.
Okay, so,
This is nothing.
the regulation that we had originally referenced, authorized signage at particular places. And that we've learned that places of concern and maybe under the scope of a Parks and Recreation Commission that doesn't exist. And so there's nothing that precludes signage at these places. I agree with Richard, having it explicit in here would be nice. It would be a nice addition. I disagree with Dave that it is malevolent. I don't really think it's anyone pushing back at us as much as it's hard communicating stuff.
I mean, A says we're an advisory committee, so all we can do is advise on it, but we can advise on standards.
Of course, we were advised, but I thought the idea was the city was going to accept that it had a responsibility to put signs in open spaces and trails, and whoever in the city can do that would have responsibility to do that. I thought that's what we were hoping for. And because presumably it'll be the DPW now and, some other entity later, but I thought that we were trying to make it so that the city felt a responsibility to put signs at open spaces and trails. Not just that we can suggest it. I think that's real different.
Okay, yes, it is quite different. I think our tools have to do with soft garnering of support. We don't have a means of insisting that the city do anything. We can advise, we can build up support in the community and have people call counselors. We can work and meet with individual counselors. We can write reports that get noticed by counselors, by the mayor and the company, but we don't have the sway and the ability to insist the city take it on.
Well, they were suggesting that the city take it on and hoping that they would, and they have decided that they won't, it looks like to me.
That's not the case.
I don't read it that way. I don't read it that way.
There is something, Dave, all right, since the city no longer has a Parks and Rec department or commission, much of the commission's duties are somewhat falling under OSRC. It might be simpler to reference 2022 OSRP's list of city-owned spaces in Chapter 2, Section 2554, rather than having a defined list that is limiting and not use 1530 list at all. In Section 25526, it states, promote awareness of open spaces through a descriptive inventory of open spaces, which gives authority to the OSRC in the ordinance for inventorying, posting signage, plans, maps, and promotional materials. Language can be added to make it clear in Section 2554. It is best to have all the OSRC's duties, responsibilities within it. Let me get to that 1530. Sorry, I'm going to share. So there is signage. I apologize for not.
I thought I saw it somewhere too. Yeah.
Here, hold on a second. Let me. 1530. Right, okay.
First thought was to allow us to expand beyond this. Right. One of our first thoughts on this was to try and expand beyond that limited list of properties.
Right, and so he did by putting the current open space.
Yeah.
Right. That's everything.
Gives us everything.
Right. That gives us, that solves the location problem.
It's a big deal.
Right.
I am having a hard time finding this. 2552.
Search the word signage.
I guess I misunderstood. So signage was already in the city's responsibilities in that document that you just pointed to?
Yes.
Yes, I think we looked, and I think we focused too much on another ordinance that didn't have the word in there, when it was already there somewhere else. That's what
it sounds like.
It sounds what it sounds like, yeah.
All the details.
Right.
So
I think we should try to capitalize on this, at least positive momentum, see this thing through, and then immediately follow up with some places to fix, some, right. Getting on to the next thing is is what's the next steps now and sort of a layout or?
Yeah. To make our suggestions,
What's that, Dave?
to make our suggestions. I mean, for specific signage, right? If that language goes through, then we are sort of empowered to make suggestions about signage. So that
This one really too, there's somewhere, everybody took some pictures, there's some old defunct signs and.
I will, beat this horse again. I will insist that we have a plan that states objectives before we decide what signage looks like or what the signage contains. What are the objectives of this project that we hope to achieve? And, so what is it that we hope to communicate to the public, and what are the various means for doing that? And only then contemplate signage.
Right.
And I think that really needs to be spelled out. Jumping to signage I love the idea of having a concrete, tangible thing that we have created, but I don't think that's the next best step.
And it's not just a thing, it's multiple things in terms of what a sign is in terms of.
So I think it doesn't have to be an elaborate, a project plan, but something that resembles a project plan that, states objectives and steps and what success looks like.
And who will draft that?
I would hope that the folks who are championing this project do that, yes. I just verbed the word champion.
It's kind of interesting because the temple just developed using a graphic designer, a new logo. And it's not just the logo, but there's a whole booklet that says, here's the sizes it should be, here's the font.
Who did this?
Our temple. And it's, it's a whole, I was amazed, like here's the colors, here's the sign, the sizes, here's the fonts, here's the alternative colors you can use. It was really, it provides a very coherent.
But there are a number of organizations that have probably not anything so fine-tuned as that, but, Greenbelt, Mass Audubon, trustees, cats, they all have their own different way of doing it. So.
How do what is the next step then? Because I don't really have a lot of experience in the other side, like where to start this. I mean, I understand project plans and objectives, but I guess in terms of, this doesn't have to be limited, at least the initial input and ideas can happen from, everybody can pitch in.
Sure.
And, what people.
Based on their experience, there are.
I mean, should we start from scratch, or should we start by looking at some of these other signs that already exist and say, we like this feature on that one, that feature on that one?
I would think so.
I would say the initial thing to do is to say, what does success look like?
Right.
And the success, is it a sign or is success an informed public? And if success is an informed public, what are the means for informing them? And so.
May not be a sign at all.
Well, or it's a sign and.
Right, yeah.
And,
Or it's no sign, there's a lot of folks out there.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly. So that's why I harp on this.
Or do big signs.
Jump to the tangible things. It's so tempting.
But how do you,
Sorry, Deb.
there's so many areas where some tangible things might work and some things might not.
Yep.
Yes, that's the fact.
Well,
and also,
You don't want signage where there's endangered species. With people going by and walking through, that, or vernal pools, things like that. For some things that, it's good to outreach to people to give them information about those areas. But you really don't want signage. People go into those particular areas. If you can't take a Kmart approach and say one size fits all.
right, it's never gonna work.
And there may be partners that, a project plan could include, for example, Cape Ann Trail Stewards are fantastic and you know, we've got, yeah, but also CATA, Cape Ann Transit Authority, has trailhead signs.
Right.
They have, you know, a feature of stopping at the trail. And in front of the lake, there's a little CATA symbol, and we stop here. And I think there are others around the city, so there might be a number of partners that come up.
Yeah. Those kind of symbols, that was a CAPS initiative to get the buses to stop at the trailheads. And of course, they have some kiosks that are already up. But you might remember that Amy was informing us that the Rockport has already started the signage initiative, and perhaps making it match with Rockport would be of some value. Since we share the island. Maybe come back to Gloucester someday, who knows?
So, Eric, what are you looking for?
Oh, sorry.
Are we pausing to let you find something?
No, it's here. Sorry, like I just disappeared there. But Dave, Merrill, this is what gives like the authority for signage. Is what this 25526. And then we're adding to these responsibilities, that's the amendment. But this descriptive inventory of open spaces, so we are, you know.
I would beg to differ.
But you think it would be Richard and David, you guys seem to want
I think the word
specifically.
sign, I just think the
Yeah.
word signage needs to be put in. And what is
The inventory can be on the website, and that's not the same thing. You could make a spreadsheet and hand it to the mayor and say, we've done a descriptive inventory of open spaces. That really, it doesn't say anything about telling the public
I
about.
think it's because it's in this to create and implement the OSR, Open Space Recreation Plan. So it's not, you know, it's a reference to that plan. And the descriptive inventory gives, yeah, I can, maybe this is why I haven't heard back from legal on this, so maybe that would be,
So,
that's something, it's still in that review, so maybe that's what we would want to recommend that they include
so
that.
we can either intercept what's in progress.
Right.
We can do nothing and think that having the word in there might cause a problem in the future, which I don't think it will. My personal opinion, but.
because we're only recommending,
Right.
we're not
Right.
building a thing.
And then third option would be to just, start a whole other one, just say you forgot the word signage because it's too far along and it's already sitting in an O&A or
I
something.
would suggest
Yeah.
that somebody speak to Tony, just say, could you put the word signage
But where would it go?
in that new language that he has? Can you put that up, Eric?
That's not appearing?
Are you sure there's no other where to get?
The thing that's signed by Tony.
Yeah.
You showed, you shared it with
The red text.
He's-
That's so weird. I have it up, but it's, give me a second. Let me see what's going on here.
That's not it.
There you go.
That's it. The word signage goes in there, add one.
Okay.
Recommend maps, signage, guides,
Yeah,
education.
yeah.
Yeah, just that one word explicitly allows us
Right.
to speak to CATA, to speak to stewards, to speak to trustees, Greenbelt. And see, take a look at what they're using.
I suggest you want to take a look at more than that, but
Yeah.
it's certainly one
Ultimately-
entity.
Ultimately, they need to hire, the city would need to hire graphic designers.
So how about this? All right, first off, Eric, do you know where it is in the process?
It's being reviewed by legal. All of them do. If you do any kind of amendment, it
So
goes.
it hasn't been,
It's not in city council
it
yet.
hasn't gone to council yet.
I don't believe so.
Okay. So, would it be appropriate for an email to go from me to as chair, to Councilor Gross and to General Counsel, saying, we had a meeting last night and thank you to Councilor Gross for this. We'd like to see the word signage added between maps and guides and add one. Okay.
Yep.
That'd be great.
Okay. So would you please send that to me, that document to me, Eric, just so it's fresh? And then if the committee would like that, I would entertain a motion to that effect.
So
I would suggest we add that we will be making these presentations in ways that the public could see. It doesn't say in there that we are suggesting signs that will be physically put at the locations. It just says we can suggest these guides and maps and things. It doesn't say that we can suggest actual objects in front of trails in that language, I don't think.
I think it's implied.
They already have signs in front of some trails.
I'm sorry, Dave, I'm not understanding your point. I think what we were just discussing was the idea of adding the word signage in that red text. Is that something you're supporting or?
I'm supporting that, but I'm suggesting we need to also add where that these things are public rather than just on some website or in a folder in a file.
I think that's in there.
Could you bring it back up again? I don't know.
Right here, the committee may advise and recommend maps, guides, educational materials, signage, and other, we hope to add signage and other relevant information for printed publication.
Yeah, so printed publications could be folders, and the city's website is the city's website. It does not say that we can suggest actual signs to be where the public can see them, physical things at the trailheads. It's not, I think it's not implied.
On the first paragraph, the first ad, it is
But we're gonna add, we're gonna ask,
list of properties.
we're going to ask that they do add signage.
Add E, and one goes with E. E says list of properties. Properties in the open space plan are trailheads. And trails. That's.
Dave, I'm sorry, I'm not following your point.
D works as well. Stewardship programs and strategies for public open space and recreation, strategy designs.
But D just says you come up with programs and strategies. It doesn't say you're actually putting up a sign in front of a trailhead. It doesn't look like in this that they're approving that we should be able to suggest what a physical sign should look like that would be posted on city property. That if somebody wanted to read it so that they could say, oh no, that's not in your purview, I think they could get away with doing that. From this.
They also don't say we can suggest bike lanes. It also doesn't say we can suggest a perimeter delineation of Dogtown. It doesn't specify a lot of things. I'm just not following your point. And we could actually ask to include the word signage, but I'm not. And if we do that, I'm not understanding how that doesn't satisfy your concern.
So I did pull up so Dave Merrill, create and implement the OSRP and ensure existence, smart use, and access to open space. These are broad, right? Ensure contiguous areas and functions are maintained. This is advisory again, proposed process for agreement. Yep.
Yeah, see, I'm just imagining someone with the opposite idea that they don't want us to do this, and they can say, see, it isn't specified in here. You have a general thing, but you're not specified. I'm trying to imagine a way that we can make it so no one can say we can't do it.
Okay, there are many, I think I understand your concern, so my counterpoint to that concern is that we cannot specify everything that we want to talk about in our regulation, or in our founding charter.
At this level.
Yeah. And so the general statements are like umbrella statements that allow us to bring things in. As long as they pass the straight face test of kind of fitting under the umbrella.
No, fine, let's put signage in and we'll see what happens.
I think it'll be fine.
Okay,
It's good discussion, thank you.
One more, if we can, Eric, can you bring up the red text again?
Yep.
Could be the word sign in. Sorry.
Okay, so this is a left brain grammatical construction issue. So it says, the committee may advise and recommend maps, guides, educational materials, blah, blah, and other relevant material for printed publication in the city's website. Now, don't we want, all of those things aren't just for that, they're for installation at the sites, are they not?
Yes.
All those things, the maps and especially these signs, they're not just for printed publication on the city's website.
You could put the words installation and dissemination.
Yeah, so,
What do you can,
use or
Right.
installation or something.
I'm now not understanding your point, Chris.
Okay,
So
this seems to limit all of those list things that to printed publications and the city's website.
Yeah.
But for me, the most vital thing is the installation, public use of whatever of those things, not just on the city website or for printed publications.
read the one above it. The open space regulation shall advise, recommend rules and guidelines. For safe and small use of a list of properties. That's the trailheads, right? That's the,
Well, it doesn't, I think Chris's one is very relevant. It limits it to just pamphlets, booklets, maps,
what is the other thing that needs to be
installation.
installation?
Yeah, basically, I mean, this is just saying that we're gonna, okay, we have all these wonderful maps and guides and signs, but we're just going to use them for, relevant for printed publication on the city's website. We're just gonna put all this in print form and on the city's website. But no, at least my understanding would be that we're going to install appropriate signage at appropriate places, right?
Maybe trailheads, maybe park openings, maybe trail intersections.
All those places.
Maybe I could recommend an edit that would
Yes,
address this.
please.
Try to get this up. Give me a
The
second.
committee may advise and recommend.
Hold on, let me just get an edit. Okay. I'm gonna share this now again. Sorry, everyone. Give me a second. And we're here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The city may advise and recommend appropriate signage and maps, comma, guides, comma, educational materials, comma, and other relevant information for publication and the city's website.
I'll do it in italics. So what is it again?
So I'm separating the maps, guides, educational material, and other relevant information for printed publication it's a separate clause. So the committee may advise and recommend appropriate signage and maps, guides, educational materials, and other relevant information for printed.
Okay, so you're saying there's an inference that signage would be installed, whereas the others would go into publications, the website.
But yes, so signage is not part of the list of things that would be in a printed
That works.
publication. It has the word, it's separated, it's signage and publications and
That's
websites.
good,
Alright.
and is different than more. And is a very specific legal definition in regulations, so that's good.
And then up here, we're not.
I'm open to other ideas, I just thought this simple edit may do it. I think it works.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
You could say appropriate signage.
Yeah, this doesn't demand that all of that just goes into the website.
But couldn't you also just add the posting or for, and in the second clause, in the end of the educate, as Chris was suggesting, I think that also should be in there, where for printed publications, posting and on the city's website, or, you know, I don't know, printed publication, public display and on the city's website, you know, kind of like that.
All right, so we could get rid of signage, the appropriate signage clause, or leave it in there.
I can vote.
You could say, maps, educational materials, and other relevant information for printed publication, and what was the term you just used?
Display.
Public display, okay.
I mean, that's a sign, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Public display.
But you're leaving out signage and including.
No,
you can
we're
leave
keeping
signage in
signage.
there, too. Either
Printed
is fine.
publication, public display,
Well, I
and the
think-
city's website.
If you take out signage, then it makes perfect sense, but you're leaving out signage.
Right, the committee may advise
Stay around from here.
appropriate signage
Yes.
and map.
All right, well then, all right, then you could get rid of the and after signage and just put a comma.
That was pretty good.
Display on the city's website. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
works. Yep.
let's call it done.
Okay. All right, so if anyone would care to attempt a motion to the effect of that, and you could suggest how it might be transmitted, I might offer to, I could send it to Councilor Gross, and if you wanted to, if that's the approach the committee would like to take.
I think we have a motion already
Okay, I lost track of that.
to recommend that you send a memorandum with the attached.
No, I would not send a memorandum.
Not a memorandum, but a note with requested or suggested amendments to section 2.2-554.
Okay.
And we thank him for his,
Councilor Gross is excellent.
yes, excellent, exemplary.
So we have a motion
So we have
for,
a motion, was there a second?
I second.
Okay, all right, all in favor, we'll have a roll call vote. We will say Dave Sargent.
Yes.
Dave Morrow.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
no, thank you.
Richard Whiteman,
Yes, thank you.
Mark Bullen,
Yes.
and Chris Leahy,
Yes.
and Dan Morse, yes. Okay, so I will take that action. Emailing Councilor Gross. Eric, would you kindly forward that to me, that attachment to me, please? Okay, anything else in this topic?
No, it's beaten.
Thank you. All right.
We actually, this was dead, but we need to get started, I guess, on a project.
Signage.
On,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the next agenda item is bike and pedestrian safety and accommodations. The only thing I have to report here can be reported under item E, so I'm gonna move to that. Okay. Item E, report of the chair's meeting with the DPW director. Eric and I met with Mike Hale a week ago, and always interesting, and it's middle of budget season, so minds were racing. We had a nice conversation. I began by thanking DPW for the state of the playgrounds. If you've taken a look around, looking really good right now. There's been about $500,000 put into playgrounds over the last year, Eric, about a year.
Yeah.
But it's, Apple Street, Cripple Cove, Bayview,
The fort.
the Fort, yes.
Green Street,
And Green Street and Burnham's, all are looking really nice. And so we thanked him for that, and he was happy to talk about a good thing. And it is really good. I'm really happy with how the playgrounds are looking. And it's been hard. There was, for example, at Purple Cove, they did a lot of work and then they couldn't open it because there was an elevation issue and they had to do, I don't know whether it was a tidal range issue that they had to barricade against, or just, or it had to do with like the deepness of the mulch, whatever. We didn't get into that detail, but it was frustrating to DPW as well as the public that it had to be closed for a while further until that regrading could be done.
That's because there's an activity and use limitation on the property.
Okay,
It's contaminated. You have to have a 3-foot barrier.
okay. Well, we didn't get into that detail, but, okay, and it was in that moment on the playgrounds that he talked about, before the design for East Gloucester, for whatever becomes of East Gloucester open space, or until that becomes in place, they're gonna leave the existing playground in place, so that it's a gathering and play place, for the year when there's, not much going on. Okay, we talked about East Gloucester, they're bringing in an arborist, there's some things to do around there. We talked about pickleball, and this is really what kind of reaffirmed the idea that we needed that input from the mayor's office. Are there any non-starters that we can take off the list? And so we're not spending our wheels on that. There's, Mike Hale has some opinions about some of the sites, and he was pointing, he was saying that, you gotta work things out with soccer and youth lacrosse and for the Magnolia Woods fields, and of course we know that. Bike lanes are going to be painted. One of the challenges, or two of the challenges, one is that you need nighttime temperatures of over 50 degrees, and so the wait, that's a sure thing. But the other problem is that every community that hires the line painting companies are waiting until temperatures are over 50 degrees. So then they have to battle it out to see who can get them to come in. And they're going to do 12 to 20 miles of line painting around the city. Not bike lanes, but fog lines and center lines, all kind of line painting. And I think it's like 3 nights, and if depending on the progress they make and whether money is still available, they may roll into a 4th night. It's a big project, and I'm very pleased. Mike said, I gave the vendor or the contractor who will do this the document that I prepared. So cool. Yeah, I hope it's cool. I hope if somebody with some professional knowledge actually vetted the thing before.
Paint dries or not.
Okay. Let's see, and we've covered East Gloucester open space and related to the CPA funding, and Mike Hale's interest in steering the design. So I think we've beat that up in this meeting. At Dogtown, this is a point of really enthusiasm, and Mike really likes it, and I think that's important. Because a lot of it falls to his department, and he thinks it's important, and he has noted, we have talked about this in like 8-year cycles or something, and let's really get it this time.
All right.
And I think he's somebody who can really mobilize that.
Yes.
And plus, Eric and ComDev are doing it, and legal and assessor. So let's keep knocking at it.
That's exciting.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal.
Yeah. All right. Eric, did you have anything else from that meeting that we need to report here?
I think you covered it all.
Okay. All right. Any questions from you about that meeting? All right.
We could be having another one before our next meeting.
Try to, yeah.
Okay.
As long as we have something to talk about. And, yeah, budget season is tough. And Mike has, a lot in his head, and he's got so many projects going on, and then you throw in kind of next year's budget thing. So there were a lot of times where there was just the kind of the downloading of all the stuff that, in the budget cycle. And so when one concern, I think this is a good thing to report, is that they're not getting any cost of living adjustments. So the department is anticipating, still to be determined, but they're anticipating flat funding in the year, which means a loss of buying power, significant loss of buying power with, increasing expenditures in labor, but also all sorts of materials. So that could diminish how much they could do in budgeting. So we really have to look to, the Commonwealth has some grants related to the things we worked on, and that's something that perhaps we can help identify and bring to Eric's attention. See if it's something we can help promote. All right. The next item, last of our business items, is emerging issues, other business and open discussion among members. We kind of have a lot of open discussion along the way, but I would entertain more if someone has some new business.
Hey, do you think it'd be appropriate to mention the Atlantic Road issue that came up for the Conservation Commission?
If you wish.
You want to summarize what we do?
Well, I don't think, it's private property,
Yeah, okay.
and I don't think it's, I
Appropriate for this.
don't think it's appropriate.
All right.
That's all.
Well, with the Conservation Commission, I'm supposed to be signing, or we're reviewing, signing the Normandy Woods of West Gloucester, tomorrow night. And we signed a conservation restriction for, down by, Coburn Street at the last meeting. So those are two things that have to do with open space.
Those are big milestones, yeah.
Well, Coburn, not so much, but in Normandy Woods is a big one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, a big one.
That's been a long time. Yes. Great. Thank you. Any other emerging news? Okay. All right. I've been trying to scribble some action items, and most of them fall to Eric. So there was a question, Eric wanted to get back to the CPC committee chair, asking exactly what they need from this committee relative to the application for EGOS funds. And Eric we've requested that Eric bring up his chain of command, so Greg and Alex and to the mayor's office, the question of sorting out the EGOS design and whether the agreed upon EGOS plan can or should be adjusted by a new process. Let's see. And then under pickleball, while Eric's talking to the mayor, you could ask whether there are any non-starters on that short list that we ought to just remove from discussion. My guess is the answer will be no, because it wants us to specify. The next item is the next item is Morris has to email Councilor Gross and Suzanne Ingen about this section 2-554, and I will highlight or transmit the text that Eric just sent. I'll say nice things, thanking Councilor Gross for his work and attention on our charter in this topic. Okay, and anything else? All right. Confirming a date for June. June is a very busy month. So, 4th Tuesday.
That's during Fiesta.
Yeah. So,
Our MS conference room is up. Yes, you want to be there.
yeah, I was thinking maybe we could meet in West Parish School and stay on the other side. What's the calendar?
Well, yes, it's the 25th,
Yeah,
right?
Fiesta is really latter, or it starts later that week.
You know, Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
So,
going to be before the fiesta.
We have it reserved for the second floor.
for the 24th. Okay, so if you want to stick with that date?
Yep.
Okay, next meeting will be 6/24. Is that good with?
Yep.
Chris and Mark?
Yeah.
Dave, is that good with you? Dave Marlowe?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, and we'll check with Richard. So, Richard, while you were out, I resigned and we voted you chair.
I'm absent.
Unanimous.
We were looking at the fourth Tuesday is the 24th of June. And we're hoping that works for you as well. It's just before the start of Fiesta. Fiesta Eve, maybe.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. With that, I would love to hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Dave. And a second?
Second.
Okay, as when I call your name, please let me know if you are ready to end this. Dave Sargent.
Yes, thank you.
Dave Morrow.
Yes.
Richard Quaitman.
Yes, thank you.
Mark Pullins. Chris Leahy.
Yes.
Dan Morris, yes. And Eric, I think you say with a big exclamation mark. Heck yeah, let's get out of here. Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Bye, Dave.
Once the burn opens, it will be adjourned to the burn.
Oh, the burn, over here. Is that a new pub?
It was the Hell Point, it was the Howard Black.
Yeah.
The burn.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Down the street from the cut, you got the burn.
Burn.
Weird.